Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's November the 11th. It's Veterans Day here in the United States, and you can see, even though the market traded all day, it's really like a holiday action here. There's no volume. There's a little bit going on early, maybe the first hour or so of trading, and there's just nothing. There's no volume. There's no movement. Nobody's trading. So, um, I hope you weren't trying to trade this stuff today, because if you were, you were just wasting time. There were a few trades here early on. I will show those um, in just a moment. I wanted to tell you a few things here. I didn't trade today, and I'm behind on my emails. I didn't read any emails this weekend. I apologize, but there was a death in my family over the weekend. On my wife's side, one of her sisters passed away unexpectedly. So, as you can imagine, it hasn't been, it's been tough around my house over the weekend. My wife, her family they're all in Texas, and so, we live in Mississippi. So she's on her way to Texas today. I'll be going over in a day or so, depending on when the funeral is going to be. So this may be the only chart lesson we get for the next few days, maybe even this week, depending on how the rest of the week goes. I did want to do, I almost didn't do a video today since there was nothing going on and I didn't trade today, but I wanted to give everybody a chance to know what was going on so you understood why I've been a little bit behind answering emails and why there may not be anything else going on the rest of the week. So appreciate if you keep my wife's family and my wife in your thoughts and prayers, because they're struggling right now. Um, my wife's sister's only 45, so it was pretty tragic. But anyway, I'm going to change the subject, get on something a little lighter. We'll talk about what I saw here. It's going to be a quick lesson today, and hopefully you understand why. There wasn't much going on anyway, but I'll show you what I saw, and you can compare it to what you were seeing, and we'll see how the week goes. I may be back tomorrow, the next day. It just depends on when I head to Texas and how, since I'm here and my wife is gone, there's not much I can do to help her at this point until I head back out to Texas. So, if I'm here, I'll probably trade, and I'll probably do the video, but probably short days for me. And like I said, I may be leaving tomorrow, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I'm just not sure when they're going to have the funeral yet. And so I'm not sure when I'm going to be leaving. But let's talk about the trades, move on here, and we'll just have to play the week by ear. If you don't see any videos, you'll know why. And if you don't get any answers on emails, you'll know why as well. So I'll try to answer anything important or emergency like always, but otherwise I'll probably treat it like a vacation time, and I won't answer any other emails probably unless I'm just bored to death and have a chance to do it. So, but let's talk about what I saw today. There was one trade a little bit right around 8 o'clock this morning that I saw. This was really looking like a trading range this morning, and you really got a little double top here, and you might have even seen this range. Originally, I probably would have had it drawn something like that right there, and it still doesn't mean that's not wrong. That may be right, actually, drawing it off those first few closes right there. That's where I usually find it. And then either way, you drag it up to the top. Oops. It fits up here on the top off the price action from this, from later in the day on both sides. And you see we kind of got an equal overshoot similar to this right here. You really got three swings higher up there, and you got three swings lower down here, and they're pretty much equal distance overshoot. So I think that's probably right or correct right there. But early this morning, this looked more like a trading range, and you can see that you got your matching bottoms, you got your double top here. We tried to go higher. We barely broke above this high from Friday. We pulled back. We tried it again, and then we tried to go higher again and failed. There's just second entry short off that new high. It's a very bearish bar. It's a little aggressive because everything's above the EMA, but notice how we're swinging on both sides. That's usually a trading range, and this was an easy scalp. And then you come down here to where the trend line is and you bounce here. On this one, I wouldn't use a stop here. I would have used a limit order, maybe a tick or so back in, and you may have only got filled on this right at the top or maybe with a stop, but once it went higher, I probably would have dropped a limit order here and tried to catch it, because that's not a very pretty bar. It is a second entry long. Actually, it's not, because you broke higher right here, but I would still consider that a two-legged swing with a little trap down here. But when you bounced off that same low, and if you were seeing this possible, I drew this lighter because I believe it's more, the trend is more in play than this, I'm sorry, the range is more in play than this trend. It did look trendy early on, and then it, from then on it was just kind of a flat range across there. And you can see how flat that EMA is. Don't be entering in that stuff. It's just, you're asking for trouble. And it really didn't flatten out till maybe right in here. This was still looking like it had a little, momentum until right in here. Then from then on, nothing. But I did like this long here, and then a failed second entry short to give you a second entry long right here. Notice the new low. You pull back first entry short, pull back second entry short, and if you're counting that as a new high, which you could, first entry, pull back second entry. So it's a failed second entry short and a second entry long all together. Probably the best move of the day. Easy trade. Any runners, you probably could have caught a runner here and ridden this all the way to the top. And again, I really should have drawn that one in green. You might have wanted to go short there. That's a very bearish bar, and this is kind of like a repeat pattern. But by this time, you look like you're trending higher, but it still looks rangy. And there's leg one. And look at that, a perfect measured move, maybe one tick higher. And then you try to go higher again and get that reversal. So you could have gone short there. It's a little aggressive, but I'll draw it in green. And then you're working down, and you get a bounce off this line again. This is one I definitely use a limit order. Let me move some of these out of the way. And you can see it pulled back, and you could have gotten filled all the way, maybe 2 ticks into that bar right there. So I definitely use a limit order. It's a little bit big. Would have worked even if you use a stop. But I probably would have used a limit order. And then same thing here. You could have gotten out of that with a stop, but I would have used a limit order again. But that's your second entry long coming off the trend line. And it was good either way, stop or limit. But since it didn't close quite on its high, I'd use a limit order there. And then you pull back here. It looks kind of bearish, and they trap people. And it's a double bottom. You got a nice little reversal bar, small one where you can get an easy stop. I like that one too. And then by the time this one got here, this is really choppy, really rangy looking. This is looking even more. You got all those matching highs right across there. You can see that. You're starting to run out of room. If you did take this one, you probably had to use a limit order. There's not enough room to get out otherwise. If you use a stop and you got caught in this, when this thing started chopping around here, I would have just exited and got out of that. And that's, again, it's a little aggressive, because if you take that away, your EMA is really flattening out there. Look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 matching bars. It's only a first entry short. It is a second entry long if you're counting off actually it's not. Your second entry long is right there. And again, I didn't like that one because of all the overlap right there. But even if you entered that one, well, if you put your stop 1 tick, you would have gotten stopped out on that. But I don't like that one there, because prices are getting, you're swinging back and forth. You've got 3 overlapping bars. I would have definitely used a limit order here. And if you did that, you still would have worked. And then this one was just really aggressive too. But you do have a little bit of a trap there. You don't really have a trap here yet. Nothing's ticked lower, and that's the main reason I don't like that one. Notice that we're moving higher, and even though it has a little lower high right there, it's not a real strong trend. The EMA is kind of flat. So, you really need it to tick back like it did right here before you consider it going long again. And even then, it's not a very pretty bar, so I would have used a limit order. I think it would have gotten filled on that one. And if it didn't, you just let it go. And you see it only, if you use a stop, it only got 4 ticks. So you might have gotten filled there on a limit order, but most likely not. And so it turns into be a 4 tick failure. before it tries it again, and it never can get that high again the rest of the day. And there's just nothing else going on out here, so I wouldn't even be trading out here. And that was it. Nothing much else to talk about. Really, once we kind of got past here, when this couldn't go any higher, and you start making low, you're coming down here and you're swinging lower without going higher, that's not a good sign. And so that's why I think it's more of a range day than, I'm showing this trend secondary and otherwise. That's more of a range. You can see that right there. And, by this point, you can only buy down here. And that, again, that's another reason that one's a little bit aggressive, because you didn't quite get back down there. And that was it. So I'm going to wrap it up. That's really about it. Again, I don't know how this week's going to go. I apologize. But it's a tough time with my wife and her family right now. And so I've got to be there for her. So we'll just have to see how the week goes. And I may be back some this week, and I may not. And but if I'm not, you know why. And again, I appreciate if you keep my wife's family in your thoughts and prayers, because they need it. But this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.